a great day for Kids Connection. Well, it's always a good day for Kids Connection, but this month is especially sweet because there's nothing sweeter than a bake-off.
But let me guess, your sweet tooth is up to the challenge.
Absolutely, but why are we baking this month?
Well, because if there's one thing you need for baking, besides flour, sugar, eggs, and all those other things, is patience.
Patience is waiting until later for what you want now. Patience isn't easy, especially when it comes to yummy baked goods.
All right, let's see how your patience stacks up today. Because first, you need to get up and we're gonna dance to our theme song.
Sometimes it's hard to wait for all the things that I want. Sometimes I kinda feel like it's just taking too long to get the things I want, what I think I need, but I know you know what's best for me. I'm gonna live what I believe. I'm gonna wait 'cause I know you're still working. I'm gonna have patience 'cause it'll be worth it. I'm gonna have faith, I know you have a purpose. I'm gonna wait 'cause I know you're still working on me. Still working on me. I know that sometimes I just need to slow down and trust that you are working all of this out. You know the things I want, what I think I need, but I know you know what's best for me. I'm gonna live what I believe. I'm gonna wait 'cause I know you're still working. I'm gonna have patience 'cause it'll be worth it. I'm gonna have faith, I know you have a purpose. I'm gonna wait 'cause I know you're still working on me. Still working on me. I'm gonna hold up, slow down. I'm gonna trust that you're working it out. I'm gonna hold up, slow down. I'm gonna trust that you're working it out. I'm gonna hold up, slow down. I'm gonna trust that you're working it out. I'm gonna hold up, slow down. I'm gonna trust that you're working it out. I'm gonna wait 'cause I know you're still working. I'm gonna have patience 'cause it'll be worth it. I'm gonna have faith, I know you have a purpose. I'm gonna wait 'cause I know you're still working on me. Still working on me. Still working on me.
It's easy to say we want to be patient, but it can be pretty tough to do.
Like maybe you're waiting on your parent to stop working so you can go to the park. Or you're waiting on your virtual class to unfreeze so you can keep doing your math work. How about waiting for the next movie in your favorite series to just come out already?
It's not easy to be patient, to wait for what you really want. But think of it this way. What could you lose if you're not patient? There can be a lot at stake depending on what you're waiting for. There was a man whose story is in the Bible who had to learn this the hard way. His name was Abraham.
Oh, I know a song about this guy.
No, whoa. You're gonna ruin the story.
Oh, sorry. Wouldn't have that been ironic? My impatience is costing us this whole video. When our bottom line is, if I don't wait, it could cost you. Funny, right? All right, I'll let you tell this story now.
All right. God had promised to make Abraham the father of a great nation. And God said he would bless all people through him. God began to fulfill this promise when Abraham had a son named Isaac.
Oh, sorry. It's a really catchy song,
I
okay?
know. When Isaac grew up, he married a woman named Rebecca. It seemed that Isaac and Rebecca couldn't have children.
What? Wait! I thought we were talking about Abraham.
But God kept his promise. Isaac prayed. God answered his prayer, and Rebecca became pregnant with twins.
From 0 to 2, she must have been thrilled. I think.
Rebecca could feel the twin boys struggling inside her, and she went to ask God what she should do. God explained to Rebecca why these boys were fighting.
Siblings couldn't even get out of the womb before they started fighting.
God said, 2 nations are within you, 2 tribes that are now inside, but separate. 1 nation will be stronger than the other. The older son will serve the younger one. The time came for Rebecca to have her babies. The firstborn was named Esau. He had a head full of red hair. Then Jacob was born shortly after, still holding onto Esau's heel.
I think it'd be cuter if they held hands, feet just seems a little unhygienic.
No, fair enough. The boys shared the same birthday, but as they grew, that was the only thing they had in common. Esau loved to roam far and wide into the wilderness and grew up to be a skillful hunter.
So if Esau is rough and tumble, and you said they were the complete opposite, so Jacob is more calm and kind of artsy?
You would be correct as always. Jacob was happy to stay home among the tents. He spent his days cooking and working with fabrics. One day, Jacob was cooking some stew, and he was baking some delicious bread to go with it.
Okay, stew isn't really baking. I feel like that's cooking. That's not baking. And we basically did bread last week, so come on.
Oh, so you don't want the stew and the fresh biscuits that are in the oven for our lunch then?
Oh, I was just expecting something sweet, but that's cool. You can keep telling the story. I'm just gonna go get us some stew and biscuits.
All right. So, Esau came in from the open country. He was very hungry after spending the day outside. As he neared the camp, a delicious smell wafted out to greet him. Esau, hungry, marched in and demanded that Jacob give him some food. Jacob saw how hungry and impatient his brother was, and he saw his chance. He told Esau, "First, sell me all the rights that belong to you as the oldest born son." All right, let's take a second to think about what Jacob was asking for here. Back then, the oldest son had the right to be the new leader of the family when the father passed away. So what was really on the line here, and what Esau was going to give away, was all his future money and power. Jacob was telling Esau to give those rights to him just for a bowl of stew. But Esau wasn't waiting, and he wasn't willing to wait. Esau said, "What good are rights to me now when I'm hungry? I am starving now. What good are these rights to me later?" Jacob made Esau promise that he would give his rights to him if he gave him some stew. And Esau once again just couldn't wait. He promised his rights to Jacob right on the spot, just so he could fill his belly. Yikes. Esau sat down and enjoyed a delicious meal. But as his stomach filled up, he must have had some time to stop and think again. He had traded away all his future money for a meal that would only last him a few hours, all because he couldn't wait. Have you ever acted like Esau? Have you ever given up something really important because you couldn't just wait until later? Whenever you're faced with a situation where you really need patience, it's important to remember that God provides what we need. He does it in His perfect timing. Remember, if you don't wait, it could cost you.
The Bible. It's 66 books of history, stories, letters, and poetry that fit together to form God's one big story. The epic adventure of how He created us and loves us so much that He made a way to rescue us. As we travel through the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, we discover people who met God and found their lives changed forever. Now, for an amazing story inspired by the book of Genesis, chapter 25, verses 24 through 34.
When Abraham's son Isaac grew up, he married a girl named Rebekah. But it didn't seem as though they'd be able to have children.
Please, God, give us children.
But God answered Isaac's prayers, and Rebekah became pregnant with twins.
Isaac, I'm pretty sure they're having a wrestling match in here.
Oh, definitely boys.
Rebekah asked God about the struggle she could feel. He told her,
2 nations are in your body. One nation will be stronger than the other. The older son will serve the younger one.
when it was time for the babies to be born, they came out fighting. Esau was born first. He came out with a strong set of lungs and a head full of red hair. His brother Jacob was born moments later, still holding on to Esau's heel.
How on earth did he manage that?
The brothers shared the same birthday, but as they grew, that was about the only thing they had in common. Esau loved to roam far out into the wilderness.
I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more.
Jacob preferred the comforts of home.
The sun is so hot. I'll just take a little nap in the tent.
Esau loved to hunt wild animals.
That is one excellent wildebeest.
Jacob preferred a different type of hunting.
Not you, not you. Ha! The perfect ripe honeydew melon.
One fine morning, Esau headed out into the wilds in search of adventure and some nice, juicy venison.
I'll feast tonight.
But Esau went all morning without spotting a single rabbit.
Ugh, should have packed a lunch.
In the afternoon, he tracked a deer for hours, but he missed his chance as the deer sprang away.
Ah!
At last, Esau headed for home, defeated. He was tired and irritated and so hungry he could eat an entire woolly mammoth.
Must eat food.
As Esau neared camp, a delicious smell wafted out to greet him.
Food!
Jacob had been home all day, resting and plucking his favorite herbs from his garden.
A little coriander, some dill.
As evening approached, Jacob used his savory herbs to whip up a tasty red lentil stew and a batch of fresh, buttery bread.
This will crisp up nicely on the hot stones.
By the time Esau had arrived in camp, Jacob's stew was simmered to perfection, and the bread was hot and crusty.
Food! Food!
Esau lunged for the stew cauldron, ready to grab a bowl, but Jacob blocked his path.
Not so fast.
Step aside, I'm hungry.
Clearly.
Just let me have some of that red stew.
Certainly.
Esau tried to dive for the stew pot again.
Just one itty-bitty thing.
What?
Well, first, give me the rights that belong to you as the oldest son.
Esau spent more time listening to his stomach than his brain. So in that moment, his stomach won out.
Look, I'm dying of hunger. If I die, those rights are pointless anyway. Now give me that stew.
Esau sprang forward once more.
Promise to give me your rights.
Fine.
Fine what?
Fine, I promise.
Promise what?
I promise to give you my rights as the oldest.
Cool. Help yourself.
Jacob stepped aside as Esau hurled himself at the stew pot.
Stew!
Esau happily gorged himself on rich stew and fresh bread. But as his stomach filled up, he had time to stop and think again. Esau had just traded the rights of a lifetime for a meal that would only last him a few hours.
had promised that he would bless all people through Jacob and Esau's grandfather, Abraham. And God did just that. You see, Abraham had Isaac, and Isaac had Jacob and Esau. And Jacob ended up playing a really important part in God's big story.
Esau missed out, even though that right was originally his. You never know what might be at stake if you don't wait. If you lose your temper, you might lose a friendship. If you sneak dessert before dinner, you might lose your parents' trust.
If you don't wait, it could cost you. On the flip side, think about what you can gain if you do wait. You might learn something really important. You might gain the trust of a friend. You can show your parents that you're trustworthy too. You can make the wise choice by being patient and trusting God.
And remember, if you're having trouble waiting, talk to someone about it. Like your mom or dad, or maybe your grandma or grandpa, whoever it is, because they could probably help you out with some ways to be patient.
All right, you guys, you may not be able to smell this at your house, but I sure can. And I'm starving. I just want to eat it. All right, well, we'll see you all again next week. Bye.
Bye.